They have you know, racism bias training, and they have these people sit down and they talk to you about, like, this is what you do. You know, if a person of color walks in, this is like, you know, it's everybody's like, shit, I don't want to be racist, but I don't think it works, man. And I don't think it's not the way. Look, racism sucks. And the way to stop racism is be a good person. Yeah. Like, the more good people we have, they will inspire more good people. We will all realize that racism is fucking stupid, and we should treat people as individuals always, whether it's by gender, by sexual preferences, origin of your ancestors. I don't care. I mean, I care in terms of, like, sexual preference. I care in terms of, like, whether I think you're attractive or not. I care in terms of, like, whether I decide, you know, like, there's some people that want to hang out with really loud people. There's some people that want to hang out with people that are, like, more demure, or some people that are more introspective. Everybody likes different shit. You're allowed to like different shit, but you're not allowed to discriminate against someone and keep them from occupation or keep them from a place to live. And if we all thought that way and just treated people on the merits of their own individual personality and character, we'd have a way better world. I think we could all agree to that. As soon as you get in these groups of all white people or all Asians or all, like, fucking come on, man. That's too small. That's such a gross generalization. It's too small of a common denominator. It's too weird. What you are, like, how much of what you are is where the fuck you're from and shit you can't control, like how much melanin you have in your skin. That's ridiculous. What you are is all the things you've experienced and all the life you've lived and all the lessons you've learned and where you are at this moment. You know, and if I like you at 30, I might not have liked you when you were 18. You might have been fucking annoying. But I meet you when you're 30 and I'm like, hey, you're cool. You know, and everything's great. And that should be okay too. It's not like we have to distinguish between people just being not interested in talking to any one individual and what is wrong with gross generalizations and then tribal ideas of, like, sticking to only people of European ethnicity and these are the good folks of European descent. Like, you're fucking crazy. Civilization's been down that road, stupid. You can't do that shit again. And you can't do it for Asians either. You can't do it for black people. You can't do it for anything. You can't say everybody's great in this group because it's nonsense.
It's so simplistic.
It's not just simplistic. It's dangerous. And it also makes people scared to say anything about it. Like, I don't want you thinking that I hate
the thing
fill in the blank.
The thing I like about not censoring hate speech is if you let hateful people say their hateful things, you know where the dangerous people are. So if you're censoring, like, you can't use this word, you can't say this, you can't say that, you don't know who the fucking weirdos are that hate black people, that hate gay people, that hate the trans, because everyone's acting exactly the same, like everything's cool. And then when they're with their friends or whoever, the people that think like them, then they're spewing all their fucking hate and shit and garbage.
Well, whenever people can't express themselves freely, there's going to be some sort of suppression. And if there's some sort of suppression, there's a resentment of that suppression, and then there's just, like, this anxiety and this tension. You know, it's like what it's essentially what we're saying is when you think about people in business meetings, how they're forced to communicate, how they're forced to dress, how they're forced to communicate. They go into this very professional building. All the women are dressed professional. All the men are dressed professional. They all get together in these conference tables, and everyone is agreeing, even though these are sexual beings who maybe like cocaine, you know, and they've been to fucking, you know, they've been to music festivals and they've maybe been to Burning Man, but they're contained. They're contained in this room, and they're talking about statistics, they're talking about probabilities, and then someone brings up diversity. Yes, diversity, all very important. And everyone is behaving in this super weird world where you can't move outside the box even remotely. If you move outside the box even a little, if you say, you know about the guy from Netflix that got fired because he used the N-word in a descriptive. He was talking about Tom Segura's special, where Tom Segura was talking about changes in language. And he was talking about some words you can't say anymore. And he says, like, you can't say retarded. He says this. Just because he said that, people were getting angry at him and protesting, and groups were trying to boycott Netflix.
I remember that.
Right. So this guy, I don't remember his name, but he was one of the big wigs at Netflix, and he said, he was like, it's like saying the word nigger to an African-American person. That's what it's like to say retarded to a family where someone has someone who's Down syndrome.
So he was defending.
He was talking about how offensive that word is to people. So it's like, this is the issue that we're dealing with. So he's just talking about it in a very matter-of-fact way. They report him for saying the word, and he gets fired. And apparently he did this twice. That's what I read.
In the same kind of context?
Yes, the same exact context. So he's repeating this thought. He's basically having they're doing an intellectual exercise. Like, is it the same to you? And he's saying it around African American people. But in saying it around African American people, just the fact that he said the word and uttered it like abracadabra, just saying it was enough for him to lose his very high profile job at Netflix, which was apparently well liked, and it really.
Do you think we're becoming like this because our lives are too easy? That like, if we had to struggle to get food and protect our families, we wouldn't be worried about this word or that word or my feelings.
100%. Yeah, I think we're seeking out altercations when we, because I think we're programmed for a certain amount of interaction with people that's unpleasant. We're programmed for a certain amount of competition, whether it's verbal or physical. We're programmed for it. And I think it's what got us to 2018 in terms of the crazy history of the human species as it marched across the world. Just imagine leaving Africa. What do you got? Animal skins on your feet, and you're walking out. Like, what? Yeah. Who the fuck were those people, and what kind of people did they encounter? That's our ancestors. Yeah. You know, our ancestors had just been dealing with bullshit forever. And when there's no bullshit, like, there's some bullshit over there. There's 78 different gender pronouns, motherfucker. And the reason why you don't think so is because you're a cisgendered, white privileged piece of shit, and all white people are racist. And then you start tweeting up a storm. If you go to those people's pages, one of the things that I'll find a person who says like preposterous shit, and if I'm not blocked by them from some gigantic auto blocker, which sometimes they do, they just block everybody. But if I'm not blocked by them, I will bookmark them. So instead of like following them so they know I'm following them, I would just bookmark them. So I'll just go back. So I have a file on my computer called Crazy Motherfuckers, and I will go to this Crazy Motherfuckers page, and I'll see them go through these manic depressive states and freak out about the world, and then every now and then something will get tossed in there about relationships, you know? I mean,
yeah. Because I know it is harder for someone of color, like black or Arab or Asian,
around some people.
Yeah. But saying white privilege, like there are a lot of white homeless men. And whenever I see a white homeless dude, I always want to give him money and go, white privilege.
Dude, there's no doubt there's an advantage in this current climate and world to being white. The problem is the white people are not guilty of doing anything just because they're privileged. Right. So instead of calling it white privilege, what we need to concentrate on is the people that are racist. That's the only real problem. Yeah. The only problem is racist people. And even though white people get discriminated against less, the problem with saying things like black people can't be racist because racism is a power thing and white people have power over black people. It's a fucking intellectual farce. Yeah. They know it is when they're saying it, and it's just one thing that they just repeat, and you're supposed to accept it. And it's a part of what we were talking about earlier, where there's a game that's going on. And the game is, I want you to say the 78 different gender pronouns. I want you to say that. I want you to do that. I want you to refer to me as that. I want you to refer to me as this. I want you to do what I want you to do. I want you to stop using certain language. I want you to start saying certain things, because that means I win.
Yeah. That's counterproductive, because you're not teaching anyone how stupid it is to just discriminate based on race. All you're doing is blocking out them being honest.
I think that doesn't even work anyway. I think what really works is leading by example. I think that's the only thing that works. What I think we learn from people better than us. You see someone who's amazing and she's super smart and she's really kind to people who are, God damn it, I got to be more like her. Yeah. And I think that's we're missing that aspect of it. The chastising. See, this is the problem with what goes on with the left in particular. The brutal, mean assaults on people, these Twitter gangs and Facebook gangs, they target someone and attack them. You are not changing anything. And in fact, you are going to get people who see this horrible shit and they're going to go, fuck those people, I'm going that way. And they go the other way. And you recruit people to be on the right. And this is literally how Donald Trump became president. One of the major factors was people were noticing a trend, and the trend was towards these crybaby, preposterous liberals that call out everything is racist, everything is sexist, everything is homophobic, everything falls into this blanket of transgression where there's no innocent and everyone's guilty. And then when they run out of targets, they go after each other for not being progressive enough. They start calling each other out. They find jealousy in the movement.
That's something that really makes me happy, though. When I see the people that have been calling people out for years and then they get called out, I'm like, fucking finally.
Well, you know, I've seen it happen. You know, I've seen it happen with people. I've seen them become. Jamie Kilstein's a friend of mine, and Jamie Kilstein was at one point in his life this really progressive activist guy who was like everything he said had to be like super male feminist and super trans positive, and I mean he was like trying so hard to be accepted, and but he's super honest about it too. He's done a podcast about it, and you know he'd call people out, he'd be really mean and really vicious, and then he realized he was getting all this anxiety from it. He had to check his Twitter all day. He'd like be walking down the street, just couldn't stop like checking his Twitter to see what the replies were, and he was realizing he was caught in this weird fucking hate spiral. You know, even though he was purporting, like, he was acting on the premise that he was a good person. He was going to call out all these bad people. But he was like addicted to this weirdness. And then it turned on him. It turned on him. I mean, you know, like some girls accused him of being creepy. And it was like super minor, like trying to go on dates with people. Like just, but that was enough that all you need is like one in that world. Everyone is so hyper progressive and looking for any sort of deviation from the pattern they can attack.
Yeah.
And they just decided that this guy, even though he had been like this model ally for male, you know, as a male feminist and for people of color, and he stood for everything that they wanted him to stand for.
But he's a piece of garbage because he told
trying
the girl,
hey, because he's heterosexual.
Yeah.